Family and friends of a 21-year-old woman who was shot and killed gathered today to honor her. Camryn Price's family held an event commemorating the start of the Camryn Olivia Foundation after the Chester County woman was killed last year. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King spoke to the family about how they're honoring her.
The neon lights of Atlanta's nightlife district flickered against the dark sky as April 4, 2023 edged toward 3 a.m. Magic City, one of the city's most renowned strip clubs, was winding down for the night. Among those leaving was 21-year-old Camryn Olivia Price, seated in the passenger side of a Cadillac Escalade driven by her boyfriend. No one could have predicted that these would be Camryn's final moments, that a vehicle would suddenly pull alongside them, that gunfire would erupt without warning, that bullets would tear through the passenger side where this vibrant young woman sat. Camryn wasn't just another victim of senseless violence. She was a rising star from Chester, South Carolina, a licensed hairstylist who had already established herself as CEO of her own company, Lace Adhesive, specializing in products for lace front wigs. Her talent had earned her the nickname Young Boss Lace Guru, with clients marveling at her ability to create natural-looking, stylish wigs that transformed not just appearances but confidence. In seconds, a promising future vanished, a daughter, friend, entrepreneur, and creator, gone. Her boyfriend, injured by glass and shrapnel but not hit by bullets, desperately sped away seeking help. Despite reaching Grady Memorial Hospital, Camryn's injuries proved fatal. This isn't just another true crime story. This is about justice for a young woman whose dreams were violently stolen. If you believe that talented young entrepreneurs deserve to pursue their passions without fear, if you think Camryn's story deserves to be heard, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your engagement helps share her story and reminds us all that behind every headline is a human being whose life mattered. What happened that night? Who pulled the trigger? And why was a brilliant young businesswoman with no known enemies targeted in such a brutal attack? The answers reveal a disturbing reality about random violence and lives cut tragically short. Born and raised in Chester, South Carolina, Camryn Olivia Price embodied the spirit of ambition from an early age. The daughter of Creighton and Jesse Price, she grew up in a supportive environment that nurtured her creative talents and entrepreneurial mindset. While many of her peers were still figuring out their paths, Camryn had already discovered her passion and purpose in the beauty industry. By 21, Camryn had accomplished what many spent decades working toward. She wasn't just a licensed hairstylist. She was the founder and CEO of Lace Adhesive, a specialized company creating products for lace front wigs. Her technical skill, combined with an artistic eye, allowed her to create installations so natural that clients often gasped when seeing their reflections. This expertise earned her recognition throughout the industry as the young boss lace guru. She had this way of making you feel beautiful and confident, recalled one client who had traveled specifically to have Camryn style her hair. It wasn't just about looking good. It was about how she made you feel during the entire experience. What set Camryn apart wasn't just her technical abilities, but her warmth and genuine care for others. Friends described her infectious enthusiasm that could light up any room. Her parents spoke of her determination, how she would practice for hours perfecting new techniques, never satisfied until she achieved excellence. The beauty industry can be fiercely competitive, yet Camryn managed to carve out her unique space through innovation and authenticity. Her company wasn't just successful, it was growing with plans for expansion and new product lines. She represented a new generation of beauty entrepreneurs, leveraging social media and direct client relationships to build businesses outside traditional pathways. She was always thinking about the next step, her mother shared. One minute she'd be talking about a new adhesive formula, the next about opening a training academy for young stylists from disadvantaged backgrounds. Camryn's story resonates because it represents potential realized. A young woman who identified her talents, developed them through dedication, and created economic opportunities for herself and potentially others. Have you ever known someone who achieved remarkable success at such a young age? Someone whose drive and vision seemed to propel them forward while others were still finding their way? These rare individuals remind us what's possible when passion meets persistence. What makes Camryn's story particularly heartbreaking is knowing how much more she would have accomplished had her life not been cut short. The beauty industry lost not just a talented stylist, but an innovator whose contributions were just beginning. April 4, 2023 began as an ordinary evening in Atlanta. The details of why Camryn and her boyfriend chose to visit Magic City that night remain private, but for many visitors to Atlanta, the iconic strip club represents a staple of the city's nightlife scene. Located in southwest Atlanta, the venue regularly attracts both locals and tourists, including celebrities and music industry figures. Security cameras captured Camryn and her boyfriend arriving at the club earlier that evening. Nothing in the footage suggested any confrontations or unusual interactions during their time there. By all accounts, they enjoyed a normal night out, with no indication of the tragedy that would unfold hours later. As the night progressed toward 3 a.m., the couple decided to leave. They walked to their Cadillac Escalade, parked nearby, with Camryn taking the passenger seat while her boyfriend got behind the wheel. The parking lot was still active, with other patrons coming and going, the typical end-of-night scene at a popular venue. They pulled out of the parking area and began driving away from Magic City. The streets of southwest Atlanta were relatively quiet at that hour, with only occasional traffic. According to police reports, they had traveled just a short distance when another vehicle suddenly accelerated alongside their Escalade. Without warning or provocation, someone from the other vehicle opened fire. The attack was swift and targeted, with bullets specifically directed at the passenger side where Camryn sat. Her boyfriend, reacting to the sudden gunfire, attempted evasive maneuvers while glass shattered around them. Though he wasn't struck by bullets, Camryn's boyfriend sustained injuries from flying glass and shrapnel. Despite his own injuries and the chaos of the moment, he made a split-second decision to speed away from the attackers, desperately trying to reach help for Camryn, who had been critically wounded. "I heard the shots from blocks away," one witness later told police. "Then I saw this SUV racing down the street like it was running for its life." The boyfriend drove directly to Grady Memorial Hospital, one of Atlanta's premier trauma centers. Hospital staff rushed to the vehicle upon arrival, immediately recognizing the severity of Camryn's condition. She was quickly transported inside and taken to emergency surgery. Medical teams worked frantically to save her life, but the injuries proved too severe. Despite their best efforts, Camryn Olivia Price was pronounced dead at Grady Memorial Hospital in the early morning hours of April 4, 2023. When Camryn's parents received the devastating call, they immediately drove from South Carolina to Atlanta. "Seeing my daughter lying there, it was a hard pill to swallow," her mother later shared, the pain evident in her voice. "No parent should ever have to experience that." What would you do if you witnessed such a senseless act of violence? Would you have the presence of mind to seek help, as Camryn's boyfriend did, or would panic overtake you? These split-second decisions often determine survival in the most terrifying moments of our lives. The shooting appeared random and unprovoked, a drive-by attack with no clear motive. Was Camryn specifically targeted, or was she simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? These questions would drive the investigation in the days and weeks to follow. As dawn broke over Atlanta on April 4, 2023, detectives from the Atlanta Police Department were already gathering evidence at the scene outside Magic City. Shell casings littered the street, and investigators meticulously photographed and collected each one. The Cadillac Escalade, now a critical piece of evidence, was thoroughly examined for bullet trajectories, blood spatter patterns, and any other clues that might lead to the shooter. "We're treating this as a homicide investigation," announced the lead detective at an early morning press briefing. "We're asking anyone who was in the area around 3 a.m. and may have witnessed anything suspicious to come forward." The initial investigation faced significant challenges. The shooting occurred in the early morning hours when visibility was limited. While Magic City had security cameras covering its entrance and parking areas, the actual shooting happened just beyond their range. Additionally, many potential witnesses had already left the scene, either unaware of what had happened or unwilling to get involved. Detectives interviewed Camryn's boyfriend extensively once his injuries were treated. Though traumatized by the experience and the loss of Camryn, he provided crucial details about the vehicle that pulled up alongside them and the sequence of events. However, in the chaos and darkness, he couldn't identify the shooter or provide a complete license plate number. News of Camryn's death spread quickly through social media, sending shockwaves through both Atlanta and her hometown of Chester, South Carolina. Friends and clients posted tributes, sharing stories of her talent and kindness. Local news stations in both cities covered the story, highlighting the senseless loss of a young entrepreneur. "She was just starting her life," said one of Camryn's friends during a television interview. "Who would do this to someone like her?" The investigation expanded to include reviews of all available traffic camera footage in the area, interviews with staff and patrons of Magic City, and analysis of Camryn's personal and professional connections to identify any potential conflicts or threats. Detectives worked to determine whether she was specifically targeted or if this was a random act of violence. As days turned into weeks, the case remained active but challenging. Investigators followed multiple leads, some promising and others leading nowhere. They examined similar incidents in the area, looking for patterns or connections. They also investigated whether the shooting might have been a case of mistaken identity. The Price family, meanwhile, made regular trips to Atlanta, meeting with detectives and pleading for information. They distributed flyers with Camryn's photo and details about the shooting, hoping to generate leads. A reward was offered for information leading to an arrest and conviction. "We won't rest until we find who did this," Camryn's father stated during a press conference. "Our daughter deserves justice." Do you think enough is being done to prevent gun violence in your community? Cases like Camryn's highlight how quickly lives can be shattered by senseless shootings. While investigators work tirelessly to solve this particular case, the broader issue of gun violence continues to affect communities across the country. The breakthrough in the case would come months later, after painstaking police work and the gradual accumulation of evidence pointing to one suspect. But during those initial weeks, Camryn's family lived in the painful limbo of grief without closure, not knowing who had taken their daughter's life or why. After months of investigation, Atlanta police identified 22-year-old Ja'Cory Echols as the prime suspect in Camryn Price's murder. Echols was no stranger to law enforcement. His criminal record revealed a troubling history that began years before the fatal shooting. In 2018, Echols had been convicted of financial identity fraud in Cobb County, Georgia. This conviction resulted in probation rather than jail time, giving him a chance to reform. However, records show he struggled to comply with the terms of his supervision, accumulating violations that would eventually catch up with him. By the time of Camryn's shooting in April 2023, Echols was already serving time in state prison, not for the murder, but for violating his probation from the earlier fraud conviction. This incarceration provided investigators with a crucial advantage. They knew exactly where to find him while they built their case. The evidence connecting Echols to the shooting came from multiple sources. While police have not publicly detailed all aspects of their investigation, court documents indicate they collected witness statements, physical evidence from the scene, and potentially video footage that wasn't initially available. Piece by piece, investigators constructed a timeline placing Echols at Magic City on the night of April 4 and connecting him to the vehicle involved in the shooting. On November 8, 2023, 7 months after Camryn's death, police formally charged Echols with murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The charges reflected both the killing of Camryn and the injuries sustained by her boyfriend. When brought before a judge, Echols maintained his innocence, but the court deemed the evidence sufficient to hold him without bond. His prior criminal history and the severity of the charges weighed heavily in this decision. The defendant poses a significant risk to public safety, the prosecutor argued during the bond hearing. His actions demonstrate a complete disregard for human life. The arrest brought a measure of relief to Camryn's family, though it couldn't erase their loss. They attended court proceedings, often sitting just feet away from the man accused of killing their daughter. The emotional toll was evident on their faces as they listened to clinical descriptions of the night that changed their lives forever. "We're grateful to the detectives who never gave up," Camryn's mother told reporters outside the courthouse. "This is just the first step toward justice for our daughter." What remains perplexing about the case is the apparent lack of connection between Eccles and Camryn. Investigators found no evidence suggesting they knew each other or had any prior interactions. This absence of an obvious motive raises disturbing questions about the random nature of the violence. If you believe that justice matters for victims like Camryn, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these stories, raising awareness about violent crime, and honoring the memory of those whose lives were cut short. Together we can ensure that Camryn Price is remembered not just for how she died, but for how she lived and the difference she made during her brief time. The criminal justice system would now determine Eccles' fate, but for those who loved Camryn, no verdict could fill the void left by her absence. The question of why Camryn, why that night, why such senseless violence, might never be fully answered. For Creighton and Jesse Price, the world stopped turning on April 4, 2023. The early morning phone call that no parent ever wants to receive shattered their lives in an instant. Their beautiful, ambitious daughter, their Camryn, was gone. There are no words to describe what it feels like, Jesse Price shared during a community memorial service in Chester. One moment you're planning your daughter's future, and the next, you're planning her funeral. The drive from Chester, South Carolina to Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta was the longest journey of their lives. When they arrived, they faced the devastating reality of seeing their daughter's body, a moment Jesse later described as a hard pill to swallow. The vibrant young woman who had left home full of dreams and plans was now gone, her life ended by senseless violence. In the days following Camryn's death, the Price family home filled with relatives, friends, and community members bringing food, sharing memories, and offering whatever comfort they could. Camryn's bedroom remained untouched, her makeup still arranged on her vanity, her business plans still pinned to her vision board, her future frozen in time. The funeral service in Chester drew hundreds of mourners, including clients who had traveled from several states away to pay their respects. Many wore hairstyles Camryn had created for them, a living testament to her artistry. Photos of Camryn throughout her life lined the church entrance. Camryn as a smiling child, Camryn at her high school graduation, Camryn receiving her cosmetology license, Camryn proudly holding the first products from her Camel adhesive line. She accomplished more in 21 years than many do in a lifetime, her father said during his eulogy, his voice breaking. But she had so much more to give. Rather than allowing grief to consume them, the Price family channeled their pain into purpose. Within months of Camryn's death, they established the Camryn Olivia Price Foundation. The foundation serves two primary missions, providing scholarships to cosmetology students in Chester County and offering financial assistance for prom expenses to local high school students. Camryn loved making people feel beautiful for special occasions, explained her mother. This foundation ensures her passion continues to touch lives. The foundation's first fundraising event, a hair show featuring styles inspired by Camryn's work, raised enough money to fund 3 scholarships. Recipients are selected based on both financial need and the creative potential that Camryn herself embodied. Throughout the investigation and subsequent legal proceedings, the Price family maintained a dignified presence. They attended every court hearing, sitting quietly but resolutely as they sought justice for their daughter. They worked closely with victim advocates and prosecutors, providing information about Camryn's life and character that extended beyond the clinical facts of the case. How do you think families find strength after such devastating loss? Is it possible to transform grief into meaningful action? The Price family's response demonstrates how creating a legacy can provide purpose amid unimaginable pain. "We can't bring Camryn back," her father said at the foundation's launch, "but we can ensure that her spirit, her desire to help others shine, continues to make this world more beautiful." Despite the arrest and charging of Ja'Cory Eccles, significant questions about Camryn's murder remain unanswered. Perhaps the most troubling is the question of motive. Why was this vibrant young entrepreneur targeted? Was she specifically chosen? Or was she simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Investigators have not publicly identified any connection between Eccles and Camryn. They didn't appear to have mutual acquaintances, business dealings, or prior interactions. This absence of an obvious link makes the violence seem even more random and senseless. Some theories have emerged during the investigation. One possibility is mistaken identity, that Eccles or accomplices intended to target someone else and mistook Camryn's vehicle. Another theory suggests the shooting might have been part of a gang initiation or demonstration of power, with victims selected at random to prove the shooter's willingness to commit violence. The location itself raises questions. Magic City, while popular, has seen other violent incidents in its vicinity over the years. Was there something about that specific location that made it a target for violence? Were there security measures that could have prevented the shooting or aided in more quickly identifying the perpetrator? The timing of the arrest, 7 months after the shooting, also prompts questions about the investigation's progress. What evidence finally led police to Eccles? Were there other suspects who were ruled out? Did Eccles act alone, or were there accomplices who remain unidentified? Court documents remain partially sealed, protecting certain details of the investigation. This standard practice helps preserve the integrity of the eventual trial, but it also leaves the public, and sometimes even the victim's family, without complete answers. We may never know why he did it, Camryn's father acknowledged in a rare interview, but knowing who did it is the first step toward justice. The case also raises broader questions about violence in Atlanta. The city has struggled with increased violent crime rates in recent years, particularly gun violence. Camryn's death occurred amid this troubling trend, highlighting the random nature of urban violence and its impact on innocent lives. What do you think was the real motive behind this senseless act? Was it truly random, or is there more to the story that hasn't yet come to light? These questions may eventually be answered during Eccles' trial, but some aspects of the case might remain mysteries forever. For Camryn's family, the why matters less than ensuring accountability. They've focused their energy on supporting the prosecution while simultaneously building Camryn's legacy through their foundation work. They understand that no explanation could ever justify what happened or bring their daughter back. The unanswered questions surrounding Camryn's death reflect a disturbing reality about violent crime. Sometimes there is no logical explanation, no comprehensible reason why a promising young life is suddenly extinguished. This randomness makes such crimes all the more frightening and all the more important to address through both justice and prevention. Camryn Olivia Price's story transcends the circumstances of her death. While her murder represents a devastating example of senseless gun violence, her life exemplifies the potential of young entrepreneurs who forge their own paths despite obstacles. The contrast between these narratives offers powerful lessons about both societal challenges and human resilience. At just 21, Camryn had already established herself as a licensed hairstylist and CEO of her own company. Her success challenges common assumptions about youth and achievement. She didn't wait for permission or perfect conditions. She identified market needs in the beauty industry and created solutions through Camel Adhesive. Her story demonstrates how passion, when combined with determination and skill, can create economic opportunities even for young people from small towns like Chester, South Carolina. The violence that claimed Camryn's life highlights disturbing patterns affecting communities across America. Young Black entrepreneurs face disproportionate safety risks while pursuing their dreams. Their success stories deserve celebration, but their vulnerability to random violence demands our attention and action. Camryn's death occurred in a moment that should have been ordinary. Leaving a nightclub, sitting in a car with her boyfriend. The mundane nature of this scenario underscores how quickly violence can shatter lives. Every time a young person with potential is lost to gun violence, we lose not just who they were, but all they would have become, noted a community activist at a vigil for Camryn. We lose their future innovations, their mentorship of others, their contributions to society. The Camryn Olivia Price Foundation represents a powerful response to tragedy, transforming grief into opportunity for others. By providing scholarships to cosmetology students and financial assistance for prom expenses, the foundation extends Camryn's passion for beauty and self-expression. Each student supported by the foundation carries forward a piece of her legacy, creating a ripple effect that multiplies her impact beyond what she could have achieved alone. This approach to memorialization offers a template for communities facing similar losses. Rather than allowing tragedy to define a victim's story, creating purpose-driven initiatives keeps their spirit alive while addressing needs they cared about. The foundation doesn't erase the injustice of Camryn's death, but it ensures her life's meaning extends beyond it. How can we better protect young entrepreneurs pursuing their dreams? This question demands both practical and policy responses. Better lighting, security cameras, and police presence in entertainment districts represent immediate interventions. Broader efforts to reduce gun violence through legislation, community programs, and economic opportunity address root causes. Supporting young business owners through mentorship, networking, and safety awareness helps them navigate risks while building their venture. The beauty industry itself has responded to Camryn's death by highlighting safety concerns for traveling stylists and entrepreneurs. Several professional organizations now offer workshops on personal security, encouraging members to implement practices like sharing location information with trusted contacts and traveling in groups when possible. Eamon's story reminds us that behind every crime statistic is a full human life, with talents, relationships, and unrealized potential. By recognizing both the tragedy of her death and the triumph of her life, we honor her memory most completely. As the legal case against Ja'Cory Echols proceeds through the justice system, Camryn Olivia Price's legacy continues to grow. Her story, both its tragic end and its inspiring beginning, resonates far beyond the boundaries of Chester, South Carolina and Atlanta, Georgia. The young woman who became known as the young boss Lace Guru never sought fame through tragedy. Her ambitions were focused on building her business, perfecting her craft, and creating opportunities for herself and others in the beauty industry. Yet her story now serves as both a cautionary tale about the fragility of life and an inspirational example of youthful achievement. Justice for Camryn means more than just a conviction, her father explained during a community forum on gun violence. It means ensuring that other young people can safely pursue their dreams without fear. It means recognizing the value of every life cut short by senseless violence. The Camryn Olivia Price Foundation has already awarded its first round of scholarships, helping aspiring cosmetologists follow in Camryn's footsteps. The foundation also provided prom attire and styling services to dozens of high school students who couldn't otherwise afford them. These tangible actions transform grief into impact, creating a living memorial that grows with each passing year. For the beauty industry, Camryn's death sparked important conversations about safety, particularly for young entrepreneurs who often work late hours or travel to unfamiliar locations. Several industry organizations have developed safety protocols and resources specifically addressing these concerns, ensuring that Camryn's experience helps protect others. The criminal justice process moves forward, with Echols facing serious charges that could result in life imprisonment if convicted. For Camryn's family, each court appearance reopens wounds while simultaneously bringing them closer to resolution. They attend every hearing, ensuring that the young woman at the center of the case is remembered as more than just a victim. If Camryn's story has touched you, if you believe that young entrepreneurs deserve to pursue their dreams safely, if you value justice for victims of senseless violence, if you're inspired by how one family transformed tragedy into purpose, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and share this video. Your engagement helps ensure that stories like Camryn's reach those who need to hear them, creating awareness that can drive positive change in communities everywhere. What state or country are you watching from, and have you seen similar tragedies in your area? Your comments not only help this channel grow, but create a community of people committed to both honoring victims and preventing future violence. Camryn Olivia Price lived just 21 years, but her impact continues. Through her foundation, through the memories of those who knew her, through the conversations her story has sparked about violence and safety, and through the inspiration she provides to young entrepreneurs everywhere, Camryn lives on. Her dreams, though interrupted, now fuel the dreams of others. Perhaps that is the most meaningful justice of all.